I would like to review how checkboxes work in HTML forms and how we can use them with PHP. Checkboxes will work the same way as radio buttons. So here you see I have a form with 2 text boxes and 1 checkbox. Checkboxes usually do not need to be checked. They are typically optional. And in this case, we want to determine whether they did check that box or not. So this is my HTML code. In this demo, I will use method equals get. The reason for that being is so that you can actually see what is being sent across to the server. Here I have a text box, name equals name, an email box, name equals email, and my checkbox, name equals news. Notice that I have coded the value in for the checkbox. Notice that I did not code a value in for the other 2 text boxes. Why? Because the user will enter the value. Looking at this form again in the browser, if the user does not enter a value, the value is empty. It is pretty easy to see that. So if the user does enter a value, it will be whatever they typed in. Therefore, we don't need to code in a value. However, when it comes to the checkbox, all the user is doing is making a little click in that box. Therefore, we need to code in a value so we can identify what was clicked. That checkbox will not return a value unless that box is clicked, and I want to make that perfectly clear. It will not return a value of nothing. It will return no value, period. I am going to submit this form without filling out anything. There are a few things going on here. First of all, I would like to draw your attention to the address bar of the browser. Because we are using method equals get, we can see the name value pairs being sent. Notice name equals nothing, ampersand, email equals nothing. We can see that those names have been sent for the 2 text boxes. The name for the checkbox has not been sent. Why? Because it does not exist, so to speak, unless it has a value. So nothing is being sent at this point. Not even the name of the form element. Therefore, we have a PHP error message. At the top of my PHP page, I have 3 expressions to retrieve the value from the 3 form elements: $_get name, $_get email, $_get news. I am storing those values in variables. As I said earlier, if nothing is entered, it will return an empty string. Empty is something. Therefore, I am not getting an error message with the variable $name or $email. I am getting the error message with $news. The point is, you cannot do this. If you want to find out what the value of a checkbox is, you first have to determine whether or not it was checked. Because using $_get or $_post, the name of the checkbox, is going to cause an error if it was not checked. Before you try to store a value from a checkbox or a radio in a variable, you first need to determine whether or not it was checked. That is done using the PHP isSet function. What do I mean by isSet? It means that a value is set for that name, and that will only happen when it is checked. I can test my statement with an echo saying it is checked, else it is not checked. Now I would also like to draw your attention some PHP in the body. And again, I am using $news, and I will get an error message on this. All right, so let's try it. I'm not going to check the checkbox. I click submit. Notice it's telling me it's not checked. All right, very good. Now let's try it. I will check it. Now it's telling me it is checked. So our isSet function is working. Once we know that it's checked, then we set a value. If it's not checked, we can do something else. Because I am using this variable in the body, and if it doesn't have a value, I will receive an error message as I have. Therefore, I have two options. The first option is to set another value in the else so that I could safely use that variable. The other option is to initialize that variable. This is actually a good thing to do for any variable that is being used in the body. Many times we don't know what the value is going to be or if it will have a value indeed. Therefore, if we're going to use that variable, by initializing it when the page loads, there will be no chance of an error message in the event that there is no value for that variable. So this is the isSet function. It is used to check whether a value has been set for a checkbox or a radio. It is not used to determine if a value has been set for a text box, because text boxes do have a value. They will always have a value. Even if the user didn't put a value in them, the value will be an empty string, and that is a value. In the case of a checkbox in radio, the default value is null, meaning it doesn't exist, which is why you will get an error message, because it doesn't exist unless it is checked. If you want to determine if the user entered a value in a text box, you test to see whether it is empty, and that is accomplished using the empty function. For checkboxes and radios, we use isSet. Now when I fill out the form and I click the Submit button, not only can I see my results on the web page and my test results, I also can see in the browser address bar that the name and values are being sent to the server.